Good morning, Jenna. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic and very excited to talk to you because Spells for Lost Things, this is really inside. I love the way that your characters are brought together and then all of a sudden the game is on. Let's go. Let's ride.
Yes, that was definitely the feeling I was going for. I'm glad you felt that.
Well, as a writer myself, I love the way that you draw pictures in my imagination. It's almost like you have lived this life or you have lived this scene out and you're saying, you're not going to believe what I just thought. And here it is.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that they have felt that alive to you. I definitely work hard to create that, so I appreciate you saying that.
Well, is there a Jenna format or a secret sauce? Because you really do have this fantastic way of capturing and recapturing the attention of a YA reader.
Well, thank you. I think that the YA world and kids in general, like, you've got to capture their attention. There's nothing like a kid to tell you that they were bored, right, with something that you wrote. So I'm always trying to explore kind of an emotional aspect of these characters, but I also know that story is really the most important part of this, especially in keeping readers.
Well, how did you come up with Spells for Lost Things? Because when my last book, it came to me while I was walking in a mall. It was like, oh no, of all places to pick up on a reason to write another book.
Isn't that funny how that happens? I feel like it's like the moment I step away from, my screen and I'm no longer self-conscious, that's when the ideas come to me. So it's good to hear that it's the same for you. And, honestly, I'm trying to remember where that first spark of an idea came from. I tend to feel like I get a couple of things kind of for free, right? Mm-hmm. Like in this book, Mason's character came to me very, very easily. He's one of the main characters. He's a kid who's been in foster care for about 10 years, and he's feeling very displaced, and he's very big-hearted, but he's very angry. And I felt like his voice came to me easily, and I also was very interested in the idea of a generational curse and what that could look like, and how that could have affected many different generations of women. So I feel like those pieces came to me, and then the rest I just trudged through. It took me a couple of years, but, writing for me is mostly a lot of hard work, but I'm always glad for those kind of little moments of inspiration that kind of keep you going.
I believe so much in those curses that you speak of, in the way that Willow's aunt is remembered, that some people thought that she was a witch, and that I do believe that in other lifetimes before us, curses were put on families, and those of us that are alive today are still living with that curse. We've just got to figure out what it is.
That's fascinating. I think it's very obvious that there are patterns that also get repeated by families. So I got very interested in this concept of, what gets passed down. And even in my own family, it's interesting as I get older and I learn more about everyone's histories, it kind of starts to piece it all together where you're thinking, oh, that's why this interaction happened. That's what this relationship is about. So I read a lot about curses, and I agree with you. I think that there are things that have happened in our families that are definitely impacting us today.
One of the things I like about being a writer is the fact that we are in control of the design of the characters. And with Mason's mom, how did that come into being, where you were able to give her the impact that she has, but Mason himself though is in his own career as well, or is his own thought?
Yeah, I try really hard with my characters to show people who are very multifaceted. I think that we are all flawed, and I wanted to show a character who, Mason loves his mother. He wants to be with her, even though she has let him down in just every way she could have. I think that it's easy to kind of write people off or think like, oh, well, he shouldn't have wanted to be with her, when the fact is she's still his mother and he still loves her so much. So, I think our relationships with each other, they're so complex. And I've done this in a couple of novels now. I've really tried to explore the fact that, parents are not perfect either. They're coming with their own histories, with their own baggage. And, that obviously impacts the child and parent relationship. But I just think that's such an interesting thing to explore. And I wanted to show someone who was also good, even in all of her flaws.
Well, see, and it's things like that where I picture a reader sitting in bed or sitting on the sofa, and they come across, the deeper story of a character, and they go, I can relate with this. Let's find out how Mason's going to do it, because Mason likes doing his own thing. But see, and the thing is I don't think Mason is an introvert. I think that he likes doing his own thing because he's a silent watcher. He's watching everything.
Yeah, thank you for that insight into him. And I think he's had to be that person, because he's been in so many different homes. He's been let down in a lot of situations. I think it would be very natural for a kid to think, well, it's just me. I've got to be the one who has my own back because I can't really trust that anybody else will.
The one of the big attractions is the fact that you pick, and maybe it's because I'm an adult, but Salem, Massachusetts. I went, but of course, that would have to be the place.
Yeah, it was funny. I actually tried to resist that setting for quite a while. Setting is a huge part of all of my books. And I thought, oh, that's too obvious. That's way too obvious. Like, if it's a witch story, it can't be in Salem. And it was funny. The characters, they have kind of this meet cute moment, or this moment where they meet, and it's on this rooftop in Salem. And I'd actually decided on another city, and I could not find a house that would work for that. I kept trying to find a neighborhood, trying to find something. And when I finally was like, okay, I think Salem is it, I actually went to Salem and immediately saw the house that I'd pictured in my mind. So it was kind of wild. It was sort of one of those coincidence and kind of like give me goosebumps moments where it felt like the story existed almost before I started writing it. But Salem turned out to be just perfect. Sometimes obvious is the way to go because there's so much fun atmosphere already built into that city. I think it worked really well for the story.
I'd love to see the research on how many adults will pick up the book and remember their first romance, and versus how many young adult readers are going to, who have not been in their first romance yet, are going to go, is this what it's like? Is it, oh my God, I can't wait till I can experience this myself. Because, I mean, come on, the two of these together and to do what they do in this book, we all want adventure like that.
Of course, yes. I'm in a constant search for adventure, which is why I'm writing about it, I think. And it is interesting. I think that the YA world, that there's so many adults who are reading YA. I love reading YA. I think that was such an important time of life for many of us, and good or bad, it's something we think back on a lot. And also, there's so much power in how all of these experiences were like a first time, right? I think that's one of the reasons we think about our teen years so much is, this is the first time I experienced this. Maybe this is the first time I fell in love. And those are just powerful memories. And also, it's like, I think it's the first time in life when you're starting to kind of look around, decide what you want, decide what you care about, and you're starting to make some of those first decisions and kind of like getting an idea about maybe how healthy you think the relationships are, how you if you want your relationships to continue the way they have, or if you want something different.
The YA world as authors has gotten so competitive, and what I find fascinating are these movie directors and actors who do these unbelievable action-packed movies are now writing YA, and I'm going, how do you get why? And they go, you have no idea what it's like to be the author. He says it's unbelievable to bring these stories together.
Yeah, there's the YA world is so enthusiastic. They care so much about their stories. They care about their characters. Like, in my first book, it was turned into a film for Netflix, and it came out this July. And I had such an onslaught of response. I mean, there were just kids who were like, well, I thought it would be this way. I thought it would be that. I liked this. Like, it was kind of incredible, especially as someone who's always identified as a very, someone who really cares about books. It honestly kind of blew me away how passionate they felt about these characters and how much the characters belong to them. So, some of them were excited, some of them were not. But I think that the YA world carries a lot of weight and a lot of enthusiasm. So it does not surprise me at all that these films are being created.
When you create a character like Willow, do you have those moments where you because writers, we make noises when we're writing away. It's like nope. Willow seems to be that would have been one of those characters where you go, let's try this. Oh, hey, I like this. Yeah, let's go with this one.
That's funny. She was a little bit tricky to find. Mason was so easy. I feel like he just showed up fully formed, and it was so easy. Willow took me a little more time to figure out, and if I'm honest, I think it's probably because she's very similar to me. And I was kind of tiptoeing around some of my own things. When my husband read the book, he was like, oh, so she's you. These are all of your issues, which is so funny. You just end up putting so much of yourself in there. So yeah, I think that's why I struggled with her. And yeah, she definitely had a lot of moments that I thought you should have done this differently. But if I'm honest, that's probably how I would have handled it.
So when it comes to spells for lost things, do you make it a movie or do you make it into a series and put it on Netflix or Hulu? Because, I mean, it seems like, making these episodes for a series is like the cool thing because we get to see it. We get to hear it.
I think that a series would be incredible. I haven't even really thought about this yet, but there are so many side characters that could have kind of interesting backstories. And because there's this generational aspect, I think it'd be interesting to explore some of the other characters that have come before Willow. So I think it'd be a great series.
Absolutely. You've got the imagination for it, girl.
Thank you.
So where can listeners go to find out more about all of your books and to find out things about you in the way that they can start supporting you and showing you some love?
Oh, thank you. Well, my books are available anywhere that books are sold, your local bookstores, online, anywhere. I spend most of my online time on Instagram. I'm just there, Jenna Evans Welch. I love Instagram. I think it's such a positive and colorful space. And then I also have a website, jennaevanswelch.com, with kind of some basic info about my writing life and books that I have available.
Excellent. You got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you, Jenna.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay? And next time, let's write a story about Charlotte. There's got to be something in Charlotte that brings YA readers to it.
Sounds wonderful.